Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our quarterfinals here in Mundelein, Illinois. I'm Matt Monty for the NRG series. Now, we played 8 rounds of Swiss, and we're getting ready to start our quarterfinal matchup here. Now, I was hanging out with some players outside, some of them who are live for our end of the year championship. So let's go ahead and pull that slide up and see where we're at as far as the points go. And I'm going to give you a couple quick updates. So Zach Allen was 33rd exactly. So that's very important. So 32nd would get 5 points. Now, Zach lost out on 2 points by placing one slot lower at 33rd. So he's going to pick up 3 points today, move up to 160 points. Jesse Rabkin, who is in second place, is going to pick up a few points as well. 5 points, going to go from 150 to 155. Now, I was out with Connor Mullaly, and he is very aware of the points situation, as you would assume. They're in third place. Connor's in our top 8. So Connor is at least going to get 15 points, rocketing him up to 164. So up into first place on the overall leaderboard. Now, every win that Connor gets in this top 8 is worth 5 additional points. So obviously a victory in the overall tournament would be huge for his end of the year status. But again, doing the work there, getting up to 15th. So at 164 points so far on the day. That's going to bring us to our top 8 slide here. So let's check out what the top 8 looks like, all of our players involved. So we got Sean Ryder and Mason Grode going to be 1 versus 8 over there. Theo Jung and Connor Mullaly, if you're familiar with us, you know that they won a team tournament together along with Max Kamenowski several months ago. So those players already qualified, but again, Connor looking to pick up some points on the end of the year leaderboard. David Delgado, we saw play several times throughout the day against Jose Munoz, who was actually in our championship. I think it was about 3, maybe 4 years ago. Was a part of our championship. So good to see him back. And then Mitchell Weissrock, we saw play Rakdos midrange a bunch this afternoon, and Matthew Minier. So we're going to get ready to hop back down into the quarterfinals match. So I'm going to send you back down to Devin and Becky here in just a second.
All right, and here we go. We are here for the quarterfinals of the NRG series in Mundelein Pioneer. I am joined here by Becky Bell, and we are going to be covering a matchup between Connor Mullaly and Theodore Jung. Now, correct, these are actually 2 people who won the team event not too long ago here. Yeah, they won together, so teammates, now enemies, but I guess you could call them frenemies.
There we go. I'm a big fan of that. Or like I've been playing the new Pokemon and like you're best friends with your rival in that game and it's actually like really sweet. I like it a lot. I don't Connor, please.
Whoa, that Llanowar Elves is I don't know where that Llanowar Elves is going. That was going off the table.
All over
But
the
yeah,
place.
we see a really nice start here for Theo. So turn 1 played a Witch's Oven. There was a Llanowar Elf from Connor. And then turn 2, we played a Red Source, Claim the Firstborn, the Elf. Because the Elf gained haste, use the Elf for mana in the Blightstep Pathway to Deadly Dispute, sacrifice the Elf. So really, really good start here for Theo. And then we have a Wolfwillow Haven. Now that we've seen this matchup before, Theo was, fortunate enough for Theo was able to kind of dodge Karn in the post-board games. And, that's pretty much the name of the game here, is just hope that Connor doesn't set up a Karn.
Yep. As you mentioned, we did get to see Theo kind of navigate this matchup earlier. It was a little bit of luck involved, but there always is in a game like Magic. So a little bit of interesting navigation and direction, and we'll see if Theo's going to be able to do it again. A little bit stuck on a land. Looks like we're not making that 3rd land drop, but we are just going to go ahead with that Fable of the Mirror Breaker here.
Oh boy, that is a really good turn for Connor. So 2 mana for a Haven on the land, tap the land for 3, play Kiora, untap the land, use the 3 mana, play Troll, draw a card. Really, really good setup here for Connor. Theo's going to need some good stuff here. Now, one thing that I would like to mention, if you claim the Firstborn, the Old Growth Troll, and you sacrifice it on your side of the battlefield, your opponent does not get it back. So that is something to consider. And we see there's the Claim the Firstborn.
Very nice. Does it get to attach? No, because it has to attach to a forest. So we would not be able to do that.
Funny enough, if you had a forest, you would get to attach it to your forest. This came up for me when I was playing the red-green vehicles deck, and I had a Crowan War. So the 3rd chapter on the stack, I used the troll to crew a vehicle. The troll died, and I got to put it on my forest. But yeah, without a forest, you don't get to do that.
Theo going so far as to put the Old Growth Troll in his own graveyard. Not really how it works, but we're getting the idea.
And this is kind of the exact setup for that. Yeah, this is kind of the exact setup that Theo wants here. I mean, worst case scenario for Theo, Connor has a Karn, but I think outside of Karn, Theo has close to enough stuff to potentially just have set up a lethal attack next turn.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting way that this is shaken up. Theo, as you mentioned, has had just like kind of phenomenal answers to everything that Connor has been able to play, and this mono green deck has just like not really done anything to gather card advantage or be able to go up on cards atop of making land drops and kind of accelerating mana with these Wolfwillow Havens. So it's put Connor in visibly pretty interesting situation here, and Theo with you can just look at the difference in board states here. You can see creatures, artifacts, and enchantment. One of the best enchantments to have been printed in quite some time, dare I say, in a while. So we'll see if this card that you mentioned is going to be enough to kind of change the tide for Connor here.
Yeah, there is the Karn. Now, the good thing for Theo is the Mayhem Devil can just kind of attack down the Karn. So you could see now. You could see something like just Mayhem Devil attack hard and then kind of move about Theo's business. The one thing that Connor could get here is a copy of Heart of Kiran. So if you get Heart of Kiran, play the Heart. The Heart can block the Devil, but I guess then the Fable would also kill the Karn. So yeah, it makes sense to just get a Boat here. Boat can kind of take out the Devil next turn.
All
And
right.
there's a Cauldron Familiar in the graveyard, which is that's a lot.
Yeah, and thankfully that Cauldron Familiar not really utilizing an artifact ability so much as its own ability, so it does not really care about that Karn the Great Creator being in play, where normally that card, as you've mentioned many times, Devin, would make things really difficult for Theo to handle, but in this case, we're nicely able to clean up that Llanowar Elf, as well as just able to make a clean swing across, get ourselves another treasure, and our artifacts are back online.
Yep, so Karn hit the bin. Now, we do know about the Sky Sovereign. Sky Sovereign is going to be able to take out that Mayhem Devil. So Theo's going to try and get in as much chip damage as he can, because he knows the Devil's going to die next turn. So we're going to start off with the Deadly Dispute. There is maybe a chance that Theo can... Lethal's going to be hard with Connor at 14, but he can probably get pretty close, especially if there's a second Mayhem Devil.
We'll see if that is going to be the case. All right, Bloodtithe Harvester going to be the start here. Well, start of the end towards Theo's turn. So just trying to see once again how many different artifact tokens we can make on Theo's side of the board before we pass the turn and likely say goodbye to this Mayhem Devil.
Yep, so Oath is going to be played for Connor.
Ooh.
Another Karn. Now, that being said, I think you have to deploy the Sky Sovereign here. It's actually kind of tough, though. Because let's think about some math here. So, if Connor hypothetically deployed the Karn, Theo can just go... I guess you could Karn and Needle the Reflection, so Reflection couldn't copy the Mayhem Devil. Because if you don't do that, Theo just goes copy Mayhem Devil, attack down your Karn, deal you, I think, 6 points of damage, and then, pretty easily just have lethal from there with the 2 Mayhem Devils. So okay.
Ooh.
Well, Connor realizing that, I guess he has no outs.
I mean, very fair. And Connor also, like, again, these players have a token together from playing in a team event. So this is a place where both these players are respecting each other's prowess in the game and their ability to kind of see the lines and likely are talking in a little bit more of a friendly manner than we're seeing some competitors in the series being on our average day. So we are going to take a little bit of a look towards some of these deck lists. Not the Azorius control one, but we'll get there eventually. It's okay. It's okay. We're getting there. We will be able to peek at maybe not the mono green deck, but definitely the Rakdos Sacrifice deck. We kind of talked about it earlier in the day, but we'll be kind of reiterating some of those things if you missed that match earlier in the afternoon, where Theo was able to be a mono green devotion player in a kind of rough but skillfully navigated matchup.
Yeah, this is definitely maybe not the pairing that Theo wants to see, but stealing game one makes it so that you're guaranteed at least one of the post board games in the play, which is I think where Theo gets a lot more help because he has the Thoughtseizes and the Kari Zevs as we're talking about here. So Jegantha, 3 Ob Nixilis, 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Go Blank, 2 Kari Zevs expertise, 1 Kolaghan's command, and 2 unlicensed Hearse. So the Thoughtseizes and the Kari Zevs expertises I think are slam dunks here. Thoughtseize is just, the cleanest way to answer Karn. And then, as we saw in the game against Bill earlier, Karizev stealing Cavalier of Thorns was such a massive, massive swing of things. So definitely like those cards for Theo. And I do think he gets, quite a bit better in the post board games.
Yeah, and we'd also kind of talked about how Karizev's expertise could actually end up stealing something like the Sky Sovereign console flagship. I always get those like two mixed up. I know I'm not the only one. I've heard lots of people do it, which is probably why my brain is like rotted into thinking that it's that way sometime as well. And you can kind of do some fun things by stealing that vehicle as well and crewing it with some of your creatures. Some other interesting things that I sometimes maybe see is you maybe see the Gold Blank come in as well. Kind of just depends on how you're kind of thinking your mono green opponent is going to be holding back on a lot of those cards, or how quickly you might think that they will be deploying a lot of their cards. And it can kind of also just be a redundant way to say, okay, if you do card for a card and you only have like that one card left in your hand, or you only have like 2 cards left, you can still be able to get rid of those things that people kind of aggressively card for.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like what cards you would want to cut in this matchup, I think some of the slower cards, like Fable is a card that is fairly powerful, especially when copying Mayhem Devils. But I just don't really think you have a lot of time for stuff like Fable, especially on the draw. So I think the cards that I'd probably cut are Fables, and then maybe some number of like maybe the Kolaghan's command can go again, just a little bit too slow. And maybe you can trim on like one of the unlucky witnesses or something like that to make room for the 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Karisevs.
Yep. Our players are shuffling up and presenting to one another, so we will be able to go back down into this match and see how game number 2 with Connor on the play is going to shake up here.
Yeah, Connor on the play, massive. Just wants to. The thing about the matchup is Theo is pretty good at handling Llanowar Elves, does have the 4 fatal pushes, and then also Mayhem Devil can help clean those up. So Theo does have some recourse against the fast elf draws. So we'll have to see if there's a fatal push. There is. It's a good start for Theo.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those things that we didn't really get to see against Bill Cummings earlier in the day, but we are getting to see in this matchup against Connor here, and we'll see, will we be able to dispute this follow-up of Oath into Elf here?
Yeah, Theo looking for. Okay, we're gonna start with the Thoughtseize. There is what's that? A Love Struck, a Kiora, 2 lands.
Yep.
I guess is take the Kiora. Makes sense. Let's see if we can follow that up with maybe a Fatal Push, maybe another 1-drop, Oven, or something along those lines. Okay,
Maybe not
that's the cat.
exactly the thing that you would wish you could be following up with, but certainly not too terrible.
Yeah, we're gonna go make a 1/1, play a 5/5 for Connor. And we'll see what the follow-up is for Theo. Looks like a Den of the Bugbear was picked up. And this looks like a Mayhem Devil. It is. All right. So this is kind of the turn for Connor. It's Theo's kind of just, tap out and pray. One of those things. Just cross your fingers and hope it works out. So I'll have to see what Connor picks up.
I mean, it can
Happens some
certainly.
mana.
Ooh. Oh.
And holding back the Lovestruck Beast, interesting. Because that was an attack for 4. I wonder if you just slam for 9. I wonder if you're just racing Theo at that point.
I think that is an interesting consideration. I mean, it's kind of hard to, because you're also just at this point, it feels like you're hoping that there isn't going to be a way to answer your 2/1/1s that are in play. This is
Right.
an interesting place to have ended up in, and it looks like Theo's going to do his best to kind of answer swiftly the way that Connor has presented this.
Yeah, the awkward part about this is, like you said, the Mayhem Devil can kind of just clean up the 1/1s, so it's going to make it so Connor is maybe unable to attack with this Lovestruck Beast in following turns, as long as we can keep the 1/1s off the battlefield. Looks like found a forest. No Nykthos yet for Connor. Yeah, see, now we're going to get in with the Lovestruck. I wonder if we wanted to do that last turn. Probably just take 5 from Theo. Because you kind of want to keep the Cauldron Familiar in play if you have something like a Deadly Dispute or another way to sacrifice it. So, normally you think blocking is not that, blocking is fine, but you just kind of want the material in play, to be able to, power up some of your other cards.
Yeah, this is interesting too. And from what we've been able to see, I think that you can tell that Theo is also like kind of clarifying, all right, what's in your graveyard? This Cavalier is resolving. If the Cavalier dies, like where exactly is this going to end up putting me? What exactly is happening before going to that block? So trying to get as much information as possible before we go to our turn, where we will be taking Cavalier of Thorns with Karizev's expertise.
Yeah, and I think this is Karizev's into Deadly Dispute. Now, this if the Cavalier of Thorns dies on Theo's side of the battlefield, Connor will not get the trigger. So that we want to make sure that is the correct way to do it. But yeah, so steal the Cavalier, sack it to a Deadly Dispute, and then Cavalier dies on Theo's side of the battlefield, and we're going to get to draw 2 cards, get a trigger off of the Mayhem Devil, which will likely kill the 1/1 as well. Pretty good turn for Theo.
Yeah, we are in the middle of a little bit of a judge call here exactly about how this is going to end up working as well. So just give our players as well as our judge a little bit to double check on how this is going to interact here.
Yeah, we saw this come up earlier as well. I wonder if the trigger is actually Theo. So Theo has the opportunity to put a card from his graveyard on top of his library if he so chooses. Not sure if he wants any of those cards. Fatal Push, Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, Thoughtseize, Cauldron Familiar. Probably doesn't want any of those, but I wonder if they're asking if... So Theo would get to put a card on top and then resolve the dispute, right? Yeah, because you would resolve the Cav trigger while the dispute's still on the stack. So hypothetically, you could even draw the Fatal Push, like put the Fatal Push on top of the Cav, draw it, and then push the Lovestruck Beast if you wanted to.
Whoa, yeah. I mean, certainly true. I think they're also clarifying that, from what I can hear and potentially understand, if Theo didn't want anything back, if there's a choice to exile the Cavalier still, even if we don't want to put something on top of our deck.
He's reaching for something. Is he putting... I don't think you'd want to put the cat on top. Interesting. Oh, you know what I wonder? I wonder if he's asking if he could put the Karizevs back on top. Which I would assume you can. Because the Karizevs resolves, the dispute resolves, the Karizevs is in the graveyard when the Cav trigger goes in the stack. So you just put you can put the Karizevs on top, I would assume.
I would assume so as well. So it looks like they're still kind of navigating through if that is the case or not here.
Oh no, what's going on here?
I think you've actually hit the nail on the head here as to what the discussion is, and I would also be inclined to believe that you are correct as well.
I've played a lot of this deck. This has come up quite a few times, sacrificing your opponent's Cavalier of Thorns. So we're putting the cat on top. Interesting. I guess just wants to be able to play something off of the treasure.
Well, yeah,
could have potentially
have something to play with the treasure. I mean, I guess we would have been able to do that with the Fatal Push too, as you mentioned, but at least like this way, guaranteeing that we sacrifice the treasure and do something with the mana. But you're right, the Fatal Push would have been just as good. So interesting, but cat is gonna come back.
I was thinking about the Fatal Push because then you have the Revolt trigger already online, or you can just hold up the Fatal Push.
Yeah, interesting decision, but looks like we are just going to get ourselves a cat.
That's going to put Theo to 15. It's an old growth troll. Can't go. Well, actually, we could go beatdowns with the Love Struck because there is the lair, so you could turn the lair into a 1/1 if you wanted to.
That's true.
Looks like there's a Claim the Firstborn too. This is Theo. Everything's just everything's coming up Theo this game.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you about that.
Connor at 11, is this lethal? So you steal the 5/5, shove with everything. Troll blocks Devil, that's 5, 8, 9. Puts Connor to 2.
Yeah, and
It's
actually,
pretty close.
yeah, but being that low and then losing our 3/3 is just like kind of unfortunate because that's usually the way that we have reach with this deck.
Right. Yeah, unless it's lethal, you don't want to necessarily shove the Mayhem Devil into the troll.
I mean, I guess depending on if we have a land in hand or not, like we do have this Hive the Eye Tyrant in play, which when Connor has no cards in hand, like saying that I have a creature with menace, certainly makes things a
Yeah.
lot difficult for Connor.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, I think Theo's on Bloodtithe Harvester, Claim the Firstborn. I don't know what the last card is. So there's the Harvester. 2 mana. Is it another Harvester? Jeez.
Blood.
Okay. So I guess we're just going to pass and set up for lethal next turn. Also makes sense.
Yeah, we might as well be at a My Chemical Romance concert because we are giving them blood. I told you I was going to be here for comic relief. And it's maybe not good comic relief, but I'm here trying
It's
anyway.
good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so Elf drawn for Connor, and this claim should be enough to seal it up. So we can fire up the lair. Yeah, so Troll dies, ping the Elf. And then you shove with everything. Lair gets animated, blocks the Devil. Yeah, that's 12. There you go. Theodore Jung, 2-0 over Connor Mullaly in what we thought was a pretty bad matchup, but Theo able to overcome. Connor did have Karn in game 1, but Theo was kind of able to kill it pretty quickly and didn't really have any Karns in game 2, so was able to take that pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Karn is like one of the most important cards for the mono green deck in this matchup, but every single time that it came up, Theo was just able to say, all right, the things that I have amassed and the things that I'm still able to sacrifice and interact with are enough for me to continue to get through and apply enough pressure to make sure that Karn just has not been an issue for Theo on the day, who will be continuing into the semifinals, which are going to be tomorrow morning. That being said, if you're interested in watching those semifinals tomorrow morning, be sure to hit that follow button below. Make sure that you know when we go live, and we have more paper magic for you today, where we will be watching the continued top 8 of our Pioneer 10K and then going into our Modern 5K. So if you're interested in a little bit of Modern action tomorrow as well, we will be having coverage of that tomorrow as well. Any final thoughts on the day for you, Devin?
Final thoughts. Pioneer's awesome. I think we had a pretty diverse top 8. The metagame looked pretty good, looked pretty healthy. And yeah, I think I love Pioneer. It's a great format. Love to see Rakta Sacrifice. That's essentially my pet deck. So really happy to see Theo kind of passing the torch there. But yeah, I think it's been awesome.
Yeah, and I actually had somebody on Discord a second ago message me, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're casting with Doomwake. You're gonna have to tell me how great it is to cast with Doomwake." How is casting with me, Devin?
It was awesome. I had a blast. I appreciate the comic relief.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that I could provide, and I'm glad that you could provide some needed insight, especially when I was a little bit gated, again, 15 feet away from the players. So certain things that I certainly cannot say being this close, and just trying to make sure that Devin was masterfully able to walk you through a lot of different lines for these matches, and I greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to greatly appreciate to seeing all of you here for coverage tomorrow morning. We'll see you then.